You're listening to The Network Effect, the essential value of partnerships through the lens of route to market models, tech stacks, and continuing proof that two brains are better than one. Here's your Network Effect host, Bryn Nettesheim.
Today we are talking about PRMs, while also testing my ability to perfectly pronounce a triple alliterative title. But a staple of most developed mature partner programs is the partner portal. It gives partners a place to interact with vendor program elements such as training, certification, deal registration, marketing, communications, and take advantage of those benefits available to those partners. The technology choices for vendors range from all-in-one robust platforms to the more build-your-own Frankensteinish modular options, right down to the skeleton basics. And there are many options available on the market. The winds of change are blowing, and we see a paradigm shift, a change in how customers are looking at a PRM in regard to the desired structure, the functionality, and what outcomes are desired. And we have to ask our favorite question at Channelnomics, why? Today, I have Larry Walsh, CEO, Chief Analyst at Channelnomics, and mostly witty commentator joining me as my co-host. And now it's time to welcome our main guest, Nikita Zhitkevich, to the Network Effect. Our guests are esteemed leaders and experts entrenched in the day-to-day work of getting products and services to market through strategic partnerships and alliances. He's here to dig into the many layers of why as a domain expert, answer questions, and share his unique experiences. As a Senior Director of Partnerships and Alliances at PartnerStack, he's our in-house platform expert today. Hi, Nikita. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Bryn. Hey, Larry. Thanks for having me here.
Of course. Of course. So, our clients come to us at Channelnomics looking to make their partner programs more modern, more efficient, and they're also seeking methods to prove the ROI of their program. And that includes a tech stack of tools like the partner portal. So what we want to talk about today, let's just start with the basics. What did PartnerStack see as an opportunity to capitalize on when your solution was being created?
It's actually a really good question. So PartnerStack started basically in 2015. We were in the Y Combinator 2015 batch. And we never really started, the thesis was actually pretty solid from the beginning, but we took a lot of weight, like there are a lot of paths to get to where we are today. So the thesis behind the founders was always, we wanted to build the world's largest external sales team. And the way that we kind of saw that vision occurring was through channel partners. These were external salespeople that today were promoting and selling goods and services for organizations, but weren't actually part of their direct payroll in some way, shape, or form. That was kind of the initial thesis in 2015, but there was a bunch of kind of stops on the way to get there. So we started actually with partners that tended to be more low touch. So referral, affiliate partners, marketing partners, typically, where a lot of them were promoting through links or link-based attribution, and really didn't need a whole bunch of hand-holding and trading. And the software to develop and really kind of scale their success was a little bit easier for us to build. So that probably took us between 2015 to somewhere in the range of 2018. In 2018, as we started to onboard more customers as a business, we got a lot more of our customers basically asking us to take on and see if we'd work with their broader channel partners, because we were doing such a good job with kind of the referral and their kind of longer tail partner base. They were basically asking us like, hey, we're using you for this long tail of partners, but we have these existing partners today that we don't have any tools and solutions for, or we're not happy with the tools and solutions that we're kind of working with. And so we started building in the direction of your more traditional partner portal, with a lot of the learnings that we took managing some of those long tail partners like referral partners and affiliate partners. So now we are. When you think of and look at PartnerStack, we are basically a tool to help any organization manage any type of partner program, whether it is referral or affiliate or reseller or technology partner. They can really customize the portal any way they would like to be able to kind of to manage the program, the specific program that they're using today. And it's really interesting is the path that got us here, there are a lot of really cool things that we took from every single partner type to basically put PartnerStack together, which was really kind of exciting, and it's really helped benefit some of our customers today.
Yeah, and what I think is interesting is this evolution where you've made this more inclusive to these partner types. And it's part of this paradigm shift that we're seeing at Channelnomics, right? Where um, channel chiefs are looking to make specific tracks for specific partner types or maybe around specializations. And they have this vision to use their partners as deliberate functions in their route to market strategies. Right. So it's alliance, referral, influencers, resellers, you name it, right? The whole
Mhm.
gamut. There's a purpose and there's a journey that they're looking for. But, you know, what is interesting is that perhaps the functionality of these partners is being challenged by these new customer buying behaviors, right? And we see partners needing to collaborate more oftentimes to provide a more holistic solution to their end customer. And one thing, and Larry, we maybe will talk a little bit about this. I'd love to hear your perspective on it, but it's at Channelnomics, we say it's the channel imperative, right? So answering the questions of what do you want your partners to do for you? Where do you want them to go that you can't go? What do you want them to do that you can't do? And so on and so forth, based on this purpose. And with that in mind, we create a new structure for their programmatic eligibility requirements and the benefits. And you take all of that and that's those strategy decisions, and they become operational issues when it comes to the tech. So how are you seeing, in two ways,
Mhm.
partners utilizing and responding to the end customer buying behaviors and shifts through your platform? And let's start with that one because I want to talk about vendors too and what their outcomes are with you.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and Larry, I'm also very curious to hear your thoughts on and what you guys are seeing at Channelnomics. But um, we're seeing a lot of we're seeing a lot of partners, especially just because of where we started as a business, do a lot of research on their own and not necessarily like they'll work through these lower touch partners. So like referral partners or influence partners or affiliate partners where, these partners are providing them access and in the information about the solutions, but not necessarily, implementing the solutions for them or, setting them up or even like hand holding them through the buying process. They're really just bringing them to the websites, showing them like, hey, this is a really good solution that's there. And a lot of buyers are self-educating themselves already, right? And so the partner plays the role of almost just identifying like the need, bringing and connecting that vendor to the solution that helps solve their need, and then kind of stepping away. That's kind of one use case that we're seeing, but we're actually seeing partners. Partner up to kind of your point, like partners working together where, if you do have these kind of referral or marketing partners that have all of this traffic but aren't necessarily taking on the sales cycle, they might be, directing that traffic to the website and then to like the vendor's website. Then that vendor might be pointing that traffic back down to a retailer to take on like the full sales process and to actually guide that vendor customer through what it could look like to set up that tool or kind of just work with that organization. So we're seeing kind of a mix. One, consumers being a lot more, knowledgeable about the tools and the solutions that they need and not necessarily needing someone to guide them through it. And so partners are playing a huge role as they've always have in, finding and connecting those vendors to to those vendor problems to the vendor solutions that they really need. And then additionally, partners partnering together so that, the demand generation partners really work well with like the solution-based or resell partners that might be, implementing or setting up those tools for those organizations. So that's kind of what we're starting to see, or we're starting to see more of now. But Larry, like, what have you guys kind of seen in the Channelnomics market? And what's kind of curious to see if it's something similar or different.
Well, Nikita, listening to you describe this is that, and particularly the way Bryn led into this,
Mhm.
it's true, is that Channelnomics looks at this from an imperative perspective. Why do you need a partner, or why does a customer need a partner to be able to facilitate an outcome with a vendor product? And you're absolutely right. If you look across the spectrum of channel automation, some, PartnerStack, among others, having some very powerful capabilities. The problem is that the vendors do not go into it with intent because they don't treat their partners as strategic assets with definable purposes. They treat them homogenously. So this is very monolithic. Well, we have all this material, let's put it in the portal, and you can go access it. As I'm listening to you, you're describing connecting a platform like PartnerStack with an intent of what could be a perceivable outcome. And the thought that comes to mind is risk. And one of the impediments to good channel performance is risk. Partners are extraordinarily risk adverse. So if you're just throwing material up into a portal, what are you doing? You're causing them to spend time, to exert effort, to make an investment, to go figure it out for themselves. If you actually create this intent within a portal design, around what is the material within the portal, the resources within the portal, point to a particular outcome or at least a particular pathway forward, you're de-risking the process for the partner, which makes it more advantageous for them to engage.
Big time. Yeah, and I think part of the partnering that I was kind of talking about kind of helps create some of those outcomes or helps them de-risk it because you're right. Partners have a million things that they can sell, any way, shape, or form. And for a lot of organizations and a lot of SaaS-based businesses, we're still, even no matter how good your product market fit is, if you're not Apple or Microsoft or Dell, you're competing with those organizations to get the partner's attention because, a lot of those organizations have stable, channel programs that have a lot of outcome-based kind of performance and really also have a lot of brand name because a lot of these organizations have been around for a while. But when these partners, like on PartnerStack, tend to come together, so like these demand partners with some of these solution partners, it creates the opportunity for these partners to, it sort of de-risks it for them because what ends up happening is you obviously can put up the content and collateral into the portal, but then you start actually feeding leads to the solution partners that traditionally would have to go out and find their own business. And so you kind of almost have to, you almost force the partners to start thinking about, hey, we're going to start sending you business. Even if it requires some training and enablement on your side, there's business coming your way, so it's worth your while to start thinking about how to actually work with our product because we're bringing that business to you in some way, shape, or form.
And it reminds me of my favorite new buzzword is ecosystems, right? Essentially, sorry, Larry, I couldn't help it. I wanted to get my bingo in,
Yeah, I'll take your dollar.
But you're creating this environment, this community, right, at PartnerStack and through the platform where there is this collaboration, there is a flow, there are roles. And so, it's this year's buzzword, but are ecosystems and the philosophy and intent behind them new? Larry, what do you say?
No, it's ridiculous. So Channelnomics is describing. So first of all, let's just dispense with this. Ecosystems are a thing. Whether we call it ecosystems or alliances or some sort of persistent agreement between vendors for its complementary products, it's a thing. And it is a powerful tool and a go-to-market strategy. We at Channelnomics have adopted it, not just calling it ecosystems, but ecosystem 6.0. Why 6.0? Because it's been 6 decades since the first ecosystem in the channel. So that's why it's not new. But it's a powerful medium. I don't particularly think that it's being well executed across the industry. I think that it's more hopeful than strategic, at least in terms of ways many companies are approaching it.
I think there's a technology maturity that's coming along with it, an adoption maturity that's strengthening
Well,
it.
Maybe. I mean, look, and again, in deference to PartnerStack, PartnerStack does a good job of facilitating ecosystem orchestration or ecosystem connections. The problem isn't the tool. It's never the tool. It's the application of the tool. And a lot of the vendors out there are treating ecosystems as opportunistic. Throw a bunch of products together and you get magic. Well, no, we call that an app store. And if you know how much effort it takes to get into the top 5%, top 10% of any app in either the Apple Store or Google Play, it's enormous because there's tens and hundreds of thousands of apps that nobody ever sees. Same thing with Salesforce's marketplace or AWS's marketplace or Microsoft's. There's dozens and dozens of apps in each one of the categories. Which one rises to the top? Ecosystems require persistent engagement, direction, and strategic intent, much like anything else in the channel. If you can establish that, but make it more of a lattice relationship than a one-to-one relationship, then it can be really powerful. Leaving it out there to chance, it's not bankable.
I couldn't agree more with you, Larry. You talk about, I think like you're completely right. Like ecosystems has been around for a while. It kind of almost has this like a little bit of a resurgence, but the concept of ecosystems has been around, as long as the channel's been around. Ever since the beginning of the channel, like it's always been an ecosystem in one way, shape, or form. And to your point, a lot of organizations, I think, like to what you kind of talked about in listing even on marketplaces, a lot of organizations list on some of these marketplaces opportunistically and say, hey, like let's list on AWS or a hyperscaler marketplace, and maybe it'll drive us some business. But the reality is to your point, when you use the same app store analogy, like it takes a lot of effort to get to the top of any app store, and that's the exact same for any marketplace. And it feels like, to your point, a lot of the teams are not putting a lot of, maybe they are putting effort in, but they're not recognizing all of the effort that's required to really make the most of some of the opportunities that are in front of them. Whether it's between the tools or the marketplaces they're launching on, or even within some of the partners that they're working with, they're not realizing that you can't just say, hey, we're going to start a partnership and then walk away, and then that partnership's going to drive value and bring a lot of business to both parties.
All right. So Nikita, let me illustrate this in a way that people will understand what we're talking about. Think about your car. Your car is the epitome of an ecosystem product. Within the average car, there's anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 unique suppliers giving parts and components to it. And there's probably as many as 30 to 40,000 different components or parts that go into a car, none of which we recognize. We, as a consumer of vehicles, don't go in to say and specify the types of spark plugs or tires or even the type of oil that goes into lubricating the engine if you're still driving a internal combustion engine. We don't do that. That's done for us at the solution level. And then it's brought out to us as a brand. So whether you're buying a Ford or a Toyota or a Mercedes, it doesn't matter. What those car companies have done is that they've aggregated the collection of complementary products into a holistic design that creates a solution that we can use and gives us value. If we made our buyers, whether it's a direct sale or an indirect sale, it doesn't matter. If we made our buyers buy technology, buy cars the way we make them buy technology, nobody would be able to drive because every solution would be unique. And that's sort of the way we are now, which makes IT very expensive. So if you take the ecosystem concept and you create standing solutions, multi-product, multi-vendor solutions that have been integrated and validated and have a common price that's able to aggregate up to their sources, then that becomes a more marketable, a more repeatable process that adds value to everyone in the chain. Right now, ecosystems really don't work that way. Ecosystems is still a collection of, well, hey, we can work together and maybe we can do a couple of deals together, but the customer still has choices, the partner still has choices. There's not a whole lot of direction. There's a lot of wishful thinking. And so hence that is that we could buy the same solution from the same partner, but we wouldn't be able to use it the same way because they'd be built differently.
Interesting. So it's almost like it's actually a really good way of putting it. It's almost like, how do we create bundled solutions for like that help complete the picture for a customer almost?
Yeah, bundling is though I don't like the use of the word bundle
Fair
because
enough.
bundle implies it's more of when I think of bundling, I'm thinking about discounting. How
Okay.
can we pull together and then blend the margins in order to be able to, to make a sale better? You can bundle two incongruent products just to create an artificial discount. With true solution building through ecosystems, it's really about funneling or channeling choices. And we have a really good example of this in recent history, which is VCE. So going back 10 years or so ago, it was Cisco, EMC, and VMware came together. They created these reference architectures with their respective products. There were choices within it because the customers could choose what level of product to plug into the reference architectures. But those reference architectures were standing. They were recipes. It's the same thing as like making a cake. We don't tell you what type of milk or what, brand of milk to buy. You just buy milk and pour it into the cake batter. I think that's how that works. I don't know. I don't cook. So, but that's essentially it, is that's where the choice happens. You can make choices within the recipe, but not make choices about the recipe.
So the recipe stays pretty much the same, but
Yep.
the ingredients kind of that you put into it, like some of the ingredients for the type of ingredients might switch it out, but they're effectively the same ingredient.
Yeah, and then you can
Yeah.
validate those ingredients so that you actually limit the choices, but you ensure the customer gets the right value and the right experience on the other side. That's when
Yeah.
more of this has to happen, I think. My opinion. I don't know, Brendan, I may have taken us off track here.
I just want cake. That's the conclusion I've come to.
Yeah, no, yeah, we for those who don't know, at Channelnomics, there's always cake in the break room.
Yes, there is. It's really fortunate for a dispersed remote workforce.
It keeps me in the gym.
But I want to talk about value, right? So with talk about some data points. Like how are we defining what are the defining metrics and the desired experiences that are two of the main components of creating and establishing value? So Nikita, in some of our past discussions, hey, at PartnerStack, what are you seeing vendors really being able to derive from this partner collaboration and really involved platform that you're able to offer?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
It's a big question. I'd say, in this market today, there are a couple of key things that they're really leaning on their partner networks for. So the first is revenue. I think everyone today is looking for efficient revenue and capital efficient revenue in some way, shape, or form, and partners provide that just by the nature of how they work. So revenue is one. The second is platform. I guess it's like platform stickiness or integration capability. So the ability to complement and aggregate, basically like how do you create a unified experience around a specific product with kind of to Larry's point, it's not necessarily like bundling, but it's a unified product experience across multiple vendors in one shape or form. And then the third would be customer retention and value. So are there ways for your partners to kind of work together to help retain customers and provide outsized value together, so that both organizations can retain the customer and ultimately provide a better experience? And so when we look at our customers today and the intent for using PartnerStack or even just going through the partner channel for them, it usually hits one of those three buckets for us. It's either net new revenue, customer retention, or a better product experience for those customers, which could also help with points 1 and 2 there. So I mean that's kind of what we're seeing today. Larry, any thoughts on any of that?
No, I think
I'm gonna
Bryn,
steal
yeah.
Larry. I'm stealing.
Yeah.
Step aside, Larry. And I think about so we've done our Channel Horizons report, which for us is a look back and look forward into the new year. And a little teaser is, surprise, budgets are being cut. And I think about what channel chiefs and programs can do to be more efficient in how they're going to operationalize. And I think in the tech stack and the collection of tools that programs use, there's oftentimes repeat and duplicate solutions. So, where they might have a referral tool, right? And they might have a tool for affiliate partners, and they have a portal system for their reseller MSP integrators. Putting it all into one, I've heard stories about combining 7 different tools into one multi-use platform. You want to tell me a little bit more if you've seen some of your customers doing that?
Yeah, this is a whole topic, and I'm passionate about this specific topic because I think as an organization gets larger, they tend to acquire a lot more tools, and it takes adverse economic events for them to reconsider and start consolidating, unfortunately. But with PartnerStack, for example, our ability to manage a lot of those different partner programs allows us to help organizations consolidate tooling. We have been in numerous enterprise accounts where you're walking in and they're probably using either every single one of our competitors or every single tool in the space. So, they might have like 7 to 10 channel solutions, all of which that overlap, some that might be used by different departments for the exact same thing, and that creates a broken experience for the partners because one partner type is being shuttled here, but that same partner type for another division might be shuttled into a separate place, right? And so it creates this non-unified experience. But given the market conditions today, I think everybody and every organization, from companies as big as Microsoft down, are reevaluating, the technology that's there, the spend that's there, and making sure that hey, if we're really spending money on the technology, or we're really doubling down on the partner space and like infrastructure to help work with our partners, are we making sure that we're making the best use of the money for our partner operations budget, and is there an opportunity for us to consolidate? Because we've definitely been in a lot of situations where we've come in and we've helped organizations consolidate like 7 solutions into one, and it's funny because initially they see that as the ROI, but then after a couple of years, when you forget that you had 7 different solutions, you just start thinking about what's the ROI of this one tool. But like consolidation is just, I think it's going to happen more and more in our space, because I think, especially with some larger organizations, there's a lot of tooling that they're using that does do, very similar things.
And that's a fun conversation, right? The shifting definition of how you're measuring ROI, right? Once you adopt a tool. And I used a term in one of our other conversations, it was network density. And I'm a big fan of it. I'm going to probably just go ahead and adopt that. Because, right, so first it's this concept of consolidation, right? And it's lower cost of expenditure and improved workflows and better partner experience, right? And then further on down the continuum, it becomes something like network density. You wanna tell everybody about this term that you have?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think it comes from, what really got, us at PartnerStack really thinking about network density was our own network. So we have an extension to our tool. We have like a network basically of thousands of partners that can join programs that are there. And the reality and what we kind of realized was after a certain point, once you implement the tools and the processes, what really starts mattering is, how do you build a strong density of partners and solutions that can really connect with each other and continue to drive business to each other as well. And so, how do you ensure that there's both sides of that equation? So how do you have the vendors that have the solutions, and then how do you have the partners that can either sell or promote the solutions as well? And how do you increase that density as much as possible so that it creates almost this symbiotic effect where everyone's trying to put their best foot forward to create really strong partnerships, and it forces organizations into providing outcome-based partner deliverables, because if they don't do it with one partner, then another partner will come in and do it for them, So how do you create a very strong network density effectively on both sides to really kind of create a flywheel effect of partnering in some way, shape, or form?
If we do now talk about the future and the vision ahead, what do you think the biggest reflection of the paradigm shift for buyers, if a PRM are asking, right? Where are they going to define that value? How is it going to look? Where is it going, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about, PartnerStack and our space and where are we going to drive value, there's like there's two or three things that I think about. So one, there's obviously the infrastructure itself, right? So we need to have a very clean experience for any of our customers in any of our segments, SMB, mid-market, enterprise, for them to stand up and launch, a portal with all the relevant requirements that not only the vendor needs, but also the partners need. So making it enticing for the partners to actually, come in and use it. So, links, lead registration, deal registration, content and collateral, payouts to partners, right? All that needs to be, very seamless. That I kind of loop into sort of this infrastructure bucket. And then the second is what I kind of think of as this kind of growth bucket. So basically, how do we as a kind of central node in this ecosystem, how do we enable a lot of organizations that we work with to get listed, whether or get in front of other partners in some way, shape, or form, right? So how do we decrease the operational barriers to get in front of, different partners in different marketplaces to allow them to, start thinking about that, like those marketplaces less opportunistically, but more as a real strategy. So, how do they get listed in PartnerStack's marketplace? How do they maybe start getting listed in distribution in one way, shape, or form? And the goal isn't really for them just to get listed, but it's to kind of what I said before, it's to decrease the operational barriers to get listed so that, they can start really thinking about not just, okay, this is what I need to do to get listed, but this is the strategy I need to have to be successful with a lot of this, with a lot of what's there, right? So I think, tooling will probably evolve to, I think any player in our space that doesn't embrace kind of both will struggle as kind of the ecosystem space evolves. But I think those are kind of two big segments that I think about. Larry, any Larry or Bryn, like any thoughts on any of that kind of stuff?
I think it's going to create a generation of channel leaders who have a different take on what they want their PRM to do. I think it was in one way previously very static, very vendor oriented, vendor outcome oriented, and strictly just, oh, I'm the vendor and my partner is going to come here. I think it's shifting very, very clearly to how can I make this for my partners while benefiting myself? And in that shift of structure and functionality and strategic intent and the value ultimately derived, that creates a different list of what those leaders are going to be looking for from their PRMs.
Big time.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And I think, Bryn, what you're describing here is the difference between broadcasting and collaborating. And I think vendors are beginning to understand the true nature of collaboration with partners. The savvier vendors recognize that they are no longer the driving force in the go-to-market equation, that this is a multi-pole channel now, that there are different actors, there's different influencers, and they're constantly in motion. So to think that you have a solid point on the map from which you can broadcast in all directions and have that message received and acted upon without question, it's antiquated. And I think that's where PRMs are going to evolve to, is that they're going to become the collaborative platforms that they always should have been.
100%. And it's like, it seems like such a simple concept. Like, don't just like, how do you build a tool and a solution for not just yourself, but for something that your partners will want to log into? Because at the end of the day, right, like it doesn't really matter if you pick PartnerStack or any of our competitors. At the end of the day, like if the partners aren't logging in, it doesn't matter what tool you have, right? And so you need to give the other side, and arguably, one of the most important parts of any kind of ecosystem or channel business, like the partners, a reason to actually use the tooling that you're buying. There needs to be enough meat on the bone for them to actually, take time out of the day, log in, and kind of play around. Because if that's not there, I mean, it doesn't really matter what tool you use. So I think we're really going to start thinking about, like, what does that partner experience look like? How do we generate a lot more of that collaboration? And how do we create a better experience for everybody across the board?
Nikita, thank you very much for joining us today, for your time, for your insights. We appreciate the conversation.
Bryn, Larry, thank you for having me on. I think you guys are both experts at what you do, and so thank you for having me on. And excited to maybe even repeat this 6 months or a year down the line and kind of see how the space has evolved, and kind of almost do like a retro on how 2023 kind of pans out.
Yeah, since nobody got arrested this time, we should do it again.
Couldn't agree more.
Nikita, thanks again.
Yeah,
thanks, team.
Thank you. Take care.
The Network Effect is a production of Channelnomics, a business strategy and research firm focused on improving the performance of direct and indirect channels through their portfolio of strategy, intelligence, and enablement services. Find them at channelnomics.com. Be sure to subscribe to The Network Effect on Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts so you'll never miss an episode. And before you go, show some love with a review. We love to hear your feedback. For all of us here at The Network Effect and Channelnomics, thanks for listening.